What if I told you that the biggest enemy in your life is not the person who doubted you, not the job you lost, not the relationship that broke you, and not the failures you experienced? What if I told you that the biggest enemy lives inside your own mind and it speaks to you every single day in your own voice? Most people never realize this. They spend years blaming the world outside. They blame their circumstances. They blame other people. They blame bad luck. But the truth is the real battle has always been happening inside your thoughts. Inside the stories you tell yourself when nobody else is listening. You wake up in the morning and before you even get out of bed, your mind starts talking. And for many people, that voice is not kind. It says things like, you're not good enough. It says, you always fail. It says, why even try? Nothing ever works out for you. And you carry those words with you all day long, into every meeting, into every conversation, into every decision you make. Think about this for a moment. If someone followed you around all day and whispered those things in your ear constantly, you would walk away from that person immediately. You would never let them stay in your life. But because it is your own voice, because it sounds like the truth, you listen, you believe it. And slowly, over time, you start to become what that voice tells you you are. This is what negative thinking does. It does not just affect your mood. It changes your choices. It changes your relationships. It changes the direction of your entire life. And the scary part is that most people do not even notice it is happening. They just feel stuck. They feel tired. They feel like no matter what they do, nothing ever really changes. Does that sound familiar to you? Because if it does, I need you to know something right now. You are not broken. You are not weak. And you are not alone. What you are experiencing is something millions of people around the world are going through at this exact moment. And the fact that you are here watching this, listening to this, means that some part of you already knows things can be different. Some part of you is still fighting. And that part of you is right. You deserve better than the life your negative thoughts have been building for you. And today we are going to change that. But before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how your worst days often start with your worst thoughts? You wake up telling yourself it is going to be a bad day, and somehow it always is, or you walk into a situation already convinced you will fail, and somehow you do. This is not a coincidence. This is not bad luck. This is science. This is how the human brain works. Your brain is incredibly powerful. Scientists have spent decades studying it, and one of the most important things they have discovered is this. Your brain does not always know the difference between what is real and what you imagine to be real. When you think a fearful thought, your brain reacts as if the danger is actually happening right now. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Your body goes into survival mode, all because of a thought that has not even happened yet. This means the thoughts you repeat most often become your reality, not because of magic, but because of the way your brain is built. Every time you think the same thought, it gets stronger. Imagine a path through a forest. The first time you walk through it, it is difficult. There are branches and obstacles everywhere, but the more you walk that same path, the clearer it becomes. Eventually, it becomes so clear and easy that you walk it without even thinking. Your thoughts work exactly the same way. The more you think a negative thought, the stronger that mental path becomes. And one day, that thought becomes automatic. It becomes your default setting. It becomes the lens through which you see the entire world. And here is the part that most people never consider. You did not choose these thoughts, not consciously. Many of them were planted in your mind when you were very young. Maybe someone told you that you were not smart enough. Maybe you grew up in an environment where fear and worry were constant. Maybe you experienced failures that left invisible scars. Maybe you were compared to others so often that you started believing you were less than everyone else. None of that was your fault. You were just a child absorbing the world around you. You were just a person trying to survive difficult moments, and your brain was doing what it always does. It was trying to protect you by remembering what was painful so you could avoid it in the future. But here is the problem. Your brain sometimes gets too good at this job. It starts warning you about dangers that no longer exist. It starts protecting you from the past instead of preparing you for the future. And so you find yourself afraid of things that happened years ago, holding back from opportunities because of failures that are long over, living in a story that was written a long time ago, but that you are still reading every single day. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a child who touches a hot stove and burns their hand. Their brain immediately creates a powerful memory. Hot stove equals pain equals danger. From that moment on, they're careful around stoves. That is a healthy response. That is your brain doing its job perfectly. But what if that same child grew up and became so afraid of getting burned that they refused to cook anything ever? What if they avoided kitchens entirely? What if they never allowed themselves to experience the warmth of a fireplace on a cold night because the memory of that one burn was still controlling them years later? That is what uncontrolled negative thinking does to a life. It takes one painful experience and stretches it across decades. It takes one failure and turns it into an identity. It takes one rejection and uses it as proof that you are not worthy of love or success. And you have been carrying this weight maybe for years, maybe for most of your life. And it is heavy. I know it is heavy. But I also know this. You do not have to carry it anymore. This is where your life can change right here, right now, in this moment. Because understanding how this works is the very first step to freedom. You cannot change something you cannot see, but now you are beginning to see it clearly. Let me talk to you about something that most people get completely wrong when it comes to negative thinking. Most people believe that the goal is to stop having negative thoughts entirely. They believe that positive people never have dark moments, never have fear, never have doubt. And when negative thoughts do come, they feel like they are failing. They feel like something is wrong with them. But here's what nobody tells you. Negative thinking is not the enemy. Every human being on this planet experiences negative thoughts. Your brain is literally designed to produce them. It is part of your survival system. The problem is not that you have negative thoughts. The problem is what you do with them. Think about weather. You cannot stop rain from falling. You cannot control whether a storm is coming, but you can decide how you respond to it. You can prepare. You can find shelter. You can learn to work with the weather instead of being destroyed by it. Your thoughts are the same. You cannot stop every dark thought from entering your mind, but you can choose whether to believe it, whether to feed it, whether to act on it, or whether to let it pass like a cloud moving across the sky. Most people who struggle with negative thinking do not struggle because they are weak. They struggle because nobody ever taught them this. Nobody ever showed them how to have a thought without becoming that thought. Nobody ever explained that you are not your mind. You are the one watching your mind. And that is one of the most powerful realizations a human being can ever have. You are not your thoughts. Read that again. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And the moment you understand this, everything begins to shift. Imagine sitting on a park bench watching cars go by. Some cars are beautiful. Some are old and rusty. Some are going fast. Some are slow. But you are not inside those cars. You are sitting on the bench. You are simply watching. Your thoughts are the cars, and you're the person on the bench. You do not have to jump inside every thought that passes. You do not have to go wherever it wants to take you. You can simply sit, watch, and choose. This is what psychologists call mindful awareness. And it is one of the most researched and proven methods for changing the relationship you have with your own mind. People who practice this consistently report feeling calmer, more in control, less anxious, and more able to make clear decisions, not because their thoughts changed immediately, but because they changed how they related to their thoughts. Now I want to talk to you about something even deeper, because the negative thoughts you have are not random. They follow a pattern. And once you understand the pattern, you can begin to break it. Here is the pattern. Something happens in the outside world. Maybe someone criticizes you. Maybe you make a mistake. Maybe a plan does not work out. That is the event. Then almost instantly, your mind creates a story about that event. And that story is filtered through all your past experiences, all your fears, all your beliefs about yourself and the world. And that story creates an emotion, and that emotion drives your behavior. And your behavior creates your results. Most people think the event causes their feelings directly, but it does not. The story in between is everything. Two people can experience the exact same event and feel completely different emotions afterward. Why? Because they are telling themselves different stories. Let me make this real for you. Imagine two people both apply for the same job and both get rejected. The first person says to themselves, I knew it. I am not good enough. I never get what I want. Why do I even try? And they feel crushed. They give up. They stop applying. The second person says to themselves, okay, that one did not work out. What can I learn from this? Where else can I apply? And they feel temporarily disappointed, but then determined. They keep going. Eventually, they find something even better. Same event, different stories, completely different lives. This is not about pretending everything is fine. This is not about fake positivity. This is about recognizing that you have far more control over your inner world than you have ever been told. And your inner world is creating your outer world every single day. Now, let me ask you something honestly. What is the story you have been telling yourself? What is the narrative that plays in the background of your life? Because that story, more than your talent, more than your circumstances, more than your luck, that story is the biggest factor determining where your life goes from here. And if that story has been holding you back, the beautiful truth is this. You are the author, and authors can rewrite their stories. But here is what nobody tells you about changing that story. It does not happen overnight. It does not happen because you watch one video or read one book or have one good day. It happens through consistent daily practice, small choices made over and over again. And the reason most people give up is because they expect to feel different before they think different. But it actually works the other way around. You have to start thinking differently first, even when it feels unnatural, even when your mind pushes back, even when the old voice is louder than the new one, because the brain changes slowly. But it does change. And every time you challenge a negative thought, every time you choose a different story, every time you refuse to let fear make your decisions, you are literally rewiring your brain. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. It simply means that your brain is not fixed. It is not set in stone the way many people believe. It is flexible. It is adaptable. It is capable of change at any age. Whether you are 20 years old or 60 years old, your brain can form new pathways, new habits of thinking, new automatic responses. This means it is never too late. Whatever you have been telling yourself about your age, your background, your history, your past failures, none of it means you cannot change. None of it means you are stuck. Your brain is waiting for you to give it new instructions. And the instructions you give it are your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Think about a muscle. If you never use it, it gets weak. If you use it regularly, it grows stronger. Your mind works the same way. Every time you practice positive, constructive, forward-thinking patterns, that mental muscle grows. It gets easier. It becomes more natural. And one day it becomes your new default. But here is something important I want you to understand. Changing your thinking does not mean becoming someone who is always happy and never struggles. That is not realistic. That is not human. Real strength is not the absence of struggle. Real strength is the ability to struggle and keep going anyway. It is the ability to feel fear and move forward regardless. It is the ability to fall and still find a reason to get back up. You are stronger than you think. I genuinely believe that. Not because I am trying to make you feel good, but because the very fact that you have survived every difficult day in your life so far proves that you have a 100% survival rate so far. Every hard moment, every broken heart, every failed attempt, every dark night, you made it through all of them. And that is not nothing. That is extraordinary. Now, I want to talk about one of the most sneaky and destructive forms of negative thinking, and that is overthinking. Because overthinking is not just thinking too much. It is a specific pattern that your brain falls into when it is trying to solve problems it feels it cannot control. Overthinking looks like replaying conversations in your head, going over past mistakes again and again, imagining worst-case scenarios about the future, analyzing every possible thing that could go wrong, lying awake at 3 a.m, running through every fear your mind can produce. And it feels like you are being productive. It feels like you are solving something, but you are not. Overthinking does not solve problems. It just convinces you that the problems are bigger and more dangerous than they actually are. Here's a simple truth about overthinking. Most of the things you worry about never happen. Research has shown that the vast majority of the things people spend enormous mental energy worrying about never actually come to pass. You suffer through them mentally, emotionally, physically, and then they never even arrive. You paid a price for something that was never real. And even when difficult things do happen, you almost always handle them better than your overthinking predicted. Because when you are actually in the moment, something inside you rises to meet it. But overthinking robs you of your peace before the storm even arrives. There is one mistake almost everyone makes when dealing with overthinking. They try to fight it. They try to force themselves to stop thinking. And this almost never works, because telling your brain not to think about something is like telling someone not to think about a pink elephant. Suddenly, that is all they can think about. The way out of overthinking is not force, it is redirection. It is gently but firmly moving your attention somewhere else, somewhere useful, somewhere grounded, somewhere real. And we are going to talk much more about how to do exactly that. We are going to talk about the specific practices, the specific mindset shifts, the specific daily choices that will begin to transform the way your mind works from the inside out. Because understanding the problem is only the beginning. And you have already taken the first step by being here and being honest with yourself about what needs to change. You have discovered where the root of this is. You have started to see the pattern. You have started to understand that you are not your thoughts, that your story can be rewritten, that your brain can change, and that you are stronger than you have been giving yourself credit for. But the next step is where everything begins to change, because once you understand what we are about to explore, once you see the practical path forward, the actual tools that will help you break free from the prison of negative thinking, you will never see yourself the same way again. And that is a promise. You are still here. That already tells me something about you. It tells me that you are serious about this. It tells me that something inside you is ready. And I want you to hold on to that feeling, because what we are about to go through together is going to require that readiness. It is going to require your honesty, your willingness to see yourself clearly, and your commitment to doing things differently, even when it feels uncomfortable. So let us go deeper. In the first part, we talked about where negative thinking comes from. We talked about the stories your brain tells you, the patterns your mind falls into, and the truth that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. That was the foundation. That was the soil. Now we are going to plant something in it, because understanding a problem without having tools to solve it is like knowing your house is on fire but having no water. So right now we are going to talk about water. We are going to talk about the actual practical, proven ways to start changing your thinking, changing your habits, and changing your life from the inside out. And the first place we need to start is with something most people completely overlook. Most people think that changing your thinking means changing your thoughts. But that is only part of the answer. The deeper truth is that before you can consistently change your thoughts, you need to change your identity. Let me explain what I mean by that. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are, not what you do, not what you have, who you are. And most people have an identity built on their past. They say things like, I am the kind of person who always fails, or I am someone who gets anxious, or I am not smart enough for that, or I am just not a confident person. And here's the dangerous thing about identity. When your actions do not match your identity, your brain creates discomfort. And to resolve that discomfort, it pulls you back to who you believe you are. This is why so many people try to change their habits and fail. They are trying to change their behavior without changing their belief about themselves. And the belief always wins. Think about this. If you see yourself as someone who is lazy, every time you try to be productive, it feels forced, it feels fake. And eventually you give up because on some level your brain is saying, this is not who we are. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who's disciplined and growing, suddenly the actions that support that identity become easier. They feel right. They feel like you. So the question is not just, how do I stop thinking negatively? The deeper question is, who do I need to become? And the answer to that question starts with a simple but powerful practice. Start talking to yourself differently, not in a forced, fake way. Not in a way that feels like you are lying to yourself, but in a way that reflects the person you are choosing to become. Instead of saying, I am an anxious person, try saying, I am someone who is learning to find calm. Instead of saying, I always fail, try saying, I am someone who learns from every experience. Instead of saying, I am not good enough, try saying, I am growing every day. These are not lies. These are true statements about a person in progress. And every time you say them, every time you think them, you are laying down a new pathway in your brain. You are building a new identity brick by brick. And over time, that identity becomes solid. It becomes real. It becomes you. This is not wishful thinking. This is how identity actually forms. Research in psychology consistently shows that the way you talk about yourself shapes the way you perceive yourself, which shapes the choices you make, which shapes the life you live. Language is not just communication. Language is construction. You are building your reality with every word you speak to yourself. Now, let me talk to you about something that has probably been holding you back without even realizing it. And that is the relationship between negative thinking and fear. Fear is the engine behind most negative thoughts. When your mind says you are not good enough, underneath that is a fear of rejection. When your mind says you will fail, underneath that is a fear of embarrassment. When your mind says you should not try, underneath that is a fear of pain. Fear is always trying to protect you. But as we talked about before, it often protects you from things that no longer threaten you. And here is something really important to understand about fear. Most people treat fear as a stop sign. They feel afraid and they stop. They wait for the fear to go away before they move forward. But here is the truth that changes everything. The fear almost never goes away first. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is taking the step while the fear is still there. Every person you admire, every person who seems confident and successful and bold, they feel fear too. They just have a different relationship with it. They have learned to feel it and keep moving. They have learned to use the energy of fear rather than being frozen by it. Think about this. When you feel nervous before something important, your heart beats faster. Your body produces adrenaline. Your senses sharpen. This is the exact same physiological response as excitement. The only difference is the story you tell yourself about what it means. If you tell yourself you are afraid, you feel afraid. If you tell yourself you are excited, you feel excited. Same physical feeling, different story, different outcome. So the next time you feel that nervousness rising inside you before something important, try telling yourself this: I am not afraid. I am ready. And see what happens. Now let us talk about one of the most practical and powerful tools for changing negative thinking, and that is the practice of questioning your thoughts. Because most negative thoughts go unchallenged. They arrive, they make a claim about you or your life, and you accept them as truth without ever asking a single question. But what if you started asking questions? The next time a negative thought arrives, try asking it this: is this actually true? Not does it feel true, but is it actually objectively probably true? Because most of the time, the answer is no. Most negative thoughts are not facts. They are interpretations. They are assumptions. They are fears dressed up as certainties. Then ask yourself, what is the evidence for this thought? And what is the evidence against it? You will often find that the evidence against the negative thought is much stronger than the evidence for it. But your mind has been so focused on confirming the negative story that it has been ignoring all the contradicting evidence. And then ask yourself this final question: If my best friend came to me with this same thought about themselves, what would I tell them? Because the chances are you would never speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself. You would offer them kindness. You would offer them perspective. You would remind them of their strength and their worth. You deserve that same kindness. You deserve to be your own best friend. And learning to talk to yourself with compassion instead of criticism is one of the most transformative things you will ever do. Psychologists call this cognitive restructuring. But forget the term. All it means is this: you catch the negative thought, you question it, you replace it with something more accurate and more helpful. And you practice this again and again until it becomes natural. It will feel awkward at first. Your mind will resist, has been running the old program for a long time, and it does not give it up easily. But every time you challenge a negative thought, every time you refuse to accept it without question, you are weakening its hold on you. And the more you practice, the weaker it gets. Let me now talk to you about something that has a huge effect on your thinking. And most people never connect the two, and that is your daily habits in your physical environment. Your body and your mind are not separate. They are deeply connected. What you eat affects how you think. How much you sleep affects how you feel. Whether you move your body affects the chemistry in your brain. And the environment you spend your time in affects your mood more than you probably realize. Let me be direct with you about something. If you are living on poor sleep, sitting still all day, eating food that gives your body nothing it needs, spending hours consuming negative content on social media, and surrounding yourself with people who complain and criticize and drain your energy, then no matter how much you want to change your thinking, it is going to be an uphill battle every single day because your brain chemistry is affected by all of these things. When you exercise, even just walking for 30 minutes, your brain releases chemicals that naturally reduce anxiety and improve mood. When you sleep well, your brain processes emotions more effectively and your ability to think clearly improves dramatically. When you spend time in nature and sunlight in spaces that feel good, your nervous system calms down and your mind becomes quieter. This is not complicated science. This is your brain responding to basic needs being met. And when those needs are met, negative thinking does not disappear completely, but it loses so much of its power. It becomes manageable. It becomes something you can work with instead of something that controls you. So part of changing your thinking is changing your daily environment and your daily habits. Start small. You do not need to transform everything overnight. Just one thing. What is one thing you could change today that would give your brain better conditions to work with? Maybe it is going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it is a short walk every morning before you look at your phone. Maybe it is reducing the time you spend scrolling through content that makes you feel worse about yourself. Maybe it is spending more time with people who lift you up and less time with people who bring you down. Small changes in your daily habits create big changes in your mental environment over time, and your mental environment determines the quality of your thinking. Do not underestimate this. Now I want to talk to you about something beautiful, and that is the incredible power of gratitude. Not the kind of gratitude where you force yourself to list things you are thankful for while feeling nothing. Real gratitude, the kind that actually shifts something inside you. Here is something that might surprise you. Your brain cannot simultaneously hold a genuine feeling of gratitude and a feeling of fear or negativity. They cannot coexist in the same moment. When you are truly deeply present in appreciation for something, your nervous system shifts, your brain produces different chemicals, your body relaxes, and the negative thoughts, just for that moment, go quiet. And that quiet moment is powerful because in that quiet, you remember something. You remember that life has good things in it. You remember that there is beauty alongside the pain. You remember that you have survived and grown and experienced moments worth holding on to. Now, gratitude does not mean pretending your life is perfect. It does not mean minimizing your struggles. It means training your brain to notice what is also there alongside the struggle, because your brain, in its effort to protect you, becomes very good at noticing threats and problems. You have to intentionally train it to also notice what is working, what is good, what is present, and what is possible. Start simple. Every evening, think of 3 specific things from that day that you are grateful for. Not general things, specific things. Not just my health, but the warm cup of coffee I had this morning and the 10 minutes of quiet I had before the day got busy. The more specific, the more real it feels. The more real it feels, the more your brain starts to believe it. And the more your brain starts to believe that good things exist in your life, the more it begins to look for them automatically over weeks and months. This practice rewires your attention. Your brain starts to default toward noticing the positive rather than defaulting toward the negative. And this is not about becoming naive. This is about becoming balanced. This is about giving your mind the full picture instead of the filtered, fear-based version it has been working with. Let me now talk to you about something that is at the very heart of changing your life. And that is the relationship between your thoughts and your actions. Because here is a truth that many people get backwards. Most people are waiting to feel motivated before they act. They are waiting to feel confident before they try. They are waiting to feel ready before they begin. They are waiting for the negative thoughts to stop before they move forward. But that is not how change works. Action comes before the feeling. Almost always you take the step first. The confidence comes from taking it. You do the thing before you feel ready. The readiness develops through doing it. You move forward while the fear is still there, and the fear fades as you prove to yourself again and again that you are capable. Every time you take action despite a negative thought, you send a message to your brain. You tell it, we are doing this anyway. And your brain pays attention. It updates its belief about what you are capable of. It adjusts its prediction of what you can handle. And slowly, gradually, powerfully, it starts giving you thoughts that match your new actions rather than your old fears. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. It is not about having one huge, dramatic moment of change. It is about showing up every day and making one better choice, one small action, one tiny proof that you are the person you are becoming. A seed stays under the ground for weeks before anyone sees it grow. From the outside, nothing is happening. From the inside, everything is happening. Your roots are growing deeper. Your foundation is getting stronger. And one day, when no one was expecting it, including maybe yourself, you break through the surface. That is what consistent daily action does. That is what small choices made with intention do over time. They build a life that your old thinking would never have allowed you to imagine. Now, I want to speak to you very directly about something, because I think you need to hear this. You have probably tried to change before, and maybe it worked for a little while, and then something happened. A hard day, a setback, a moment of weakness. And you went back to old patterns. And then you told yourself the story that you cannot change, that you always go back. That change is for other people, but not for you. I want you to hear me on this. Setbacks are not failures. They are part of the process. Every single person who has ever truly changed their life has had moments where they slipped back, moments where the old voice came roaring back, moments where they wondered if any of this was worth it. The difference between people who change and people who stay stuck is not that the successful ones never fell down. The difference is that they got back up one more time than they fell. That is it. That is the whole secret, getting back up one more time than you fall. So if you have tried before and it did not last, that does not mean you cannot change. It means you are human. It means you are in the middle of the process, not at the end of it. It means the work is not done yet, but that does not mean the work is not working. Give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself the same way you would be patient with someone you deeply love who is trying to do something difficult. Change is hard. Growth is uncomfortable. And you're doing something brave just by trying. You are stronger than you think. You have come further than you realize. And you are closer to the life you want than your negative thoughts have been telling you. Now let me bring this all together for you, because we have covered a lot of ground, and I want to make sure you leave here with something clear and actionable inside you. Here is what we know. Negative thinking is a pattern, not a personality. It is something your brain learned, which means it is something your brain can unlearn. It does not define who you are. It does not determine who you become. It is simply a habit, and habits can change. You change that habit by questioning your thoughts instead of believing everything they tell you, by rebuilding your identity from the inside with the language you use about yourself, by taking action before you feel ready because the readiness comes from the action, by creating daily habits that give your brain the conditions it needs to function at its best, by practicing genuine gratitude that trains your attention toward what is good and possible, by getting back up every time you fall without shame, without judgment, just quietly and firmly getting back up. None of this is easy, but all of it is possible for you, exactly as you are right now, with everything you have been through, with all of your history and your fears and your doubts, because your past does not decide your future. The difficult things you have experienced have not ruined you. They have shaped you. They have built something in you that you may not yet fully see, a resilience, a depth, a capacity for empathy, and understanding that people who have never struggled do not have. Everything you have been through has been preparing you for the person you are about to become. And that person is someone who thinks differently, someone who speaks to themselves with kindness and firmness and belief, someone who takes action in the direction of their dreams even when fear is present, someone who falls and rises, someone who protects their mind the way they protect the people they love, someone who decides every single morning to choose a better story. Your fears do not define your identity. Your mistakes do not write your story. Your darkest moments do not determine your final chapter. Every single morning is a chance. Every single decision is a new path. And the life you have been dreaming about, the version of yourself you have been waiting to meet, that life and that person do not begin someday in the future. They begin with a choice you make right now, in this moment today. Start small if you need to. Start messy, start imperfect, start afraid. Just start, because the most important step is always the first one. And you have already taken it by being here, by listening, by being willing to see yourself and your mind more clearly. Now, keep going. Please keep going, because the world needs the version of you that stops listening to the voice that says you cannot and starts trusting the quiet but powerful voice that says you can. You can change your thinking. You can change your habits. You can change your story. And when your story changes, your entire life changes with it. If this video spoke to you today, if something in here landed in your heart and made you see things differently, please take a moment and like this video. That small action tells me that this work matters and helps more people find it who need it just as much as you did. And if you know someone right now, a friend, a family member, someone you care about who is trapped in negative thinking, who is struggling in silence, who needs to hear that they are not broken and that change is possible, please share this with them. That simple act of sharing could be the thing that changes the direction of their life. Subscribe if you want to keep growing, because there is so much more to explore together. And every single video is built for one purpose: to help you become the fullest, strongest, most alive version of yourself possible. And before you go, leave a comment below. Tell me what hit you hardest today. Tell me what shifted for you. Tell me the one thing you are going to start doing differently from this moment forward, because writing it down makes it real, and sharing it with this community makes you accountable. You are not alone in this. You never were, and you never will be. Now go and become who you were always meant to be.